October 11th through the 14th, around 116,000 people attended New York Comic Con 2012 at the Jacob Javits Center. Comic Con is a celebration of nerddom and creativity, from the costume fans to the art and craft of the comic books themselves. The best part of the show for me has always been Artist's Alley, where I get to meet the creators of my favorite works, as well as meet new illustrators that I've never seen before. So this year, I decided to play a little game with them, appropriately called the 5-line game. The rules of this game are very simple. One artist draws 5 lines on a piece of paper, and another artist must finish those 5 lines and turn that into a finished drawing. Once that's done, they get to draw the next 5 lines on the next page, and pass that down to another artist to finish, and so on and so forth until we've got a whole bunch of finished drawings. So being the man behind this video, it was my humble duty to draw the first 5 lines in the sketchbook to kick things off. So let's get this game started and see what happens.
Hey, I'm Jerry Ma, art director of Secret Identities, and I do this epic proportions thing. Creativity has a lot to do with your imagination, stretching your imagination, being able to create different worlds in your head, things like that, you know? It's an extension of your personality. As an Asian American artist, I wouldn't say I do things differently than any other artist, but I definitely feel a responsibility towards Asian Americans to represent them in a positive way and create strong characters in a strong environment. Well, I'm the art director of Secret Identities, which is the Asian American superhero anthology, so it's obviously having some of, I wouldn't necessarily say culture, but my background, the way I grew up, like me specifically, not as a Taiwanese American, but just the things that I've experienced as an Asian American. As an Asian American, you definitely have a unique way of growing up, a unique perspective on things. You know, in Asia, I'm American. In America, I'm Asian. So really, you never, almost in a weird way, like you never have a true home, you know?
Hi, my name's Amy Webberson, and I'm a licensed comic artist and illustrator, working on lots of stuff for Disney and DreamWorks and My Little Ponies and Muppets and all sorts of stuff. Creativity means I'm bored right now, basically. Curiosity for the most part. I love looking at art or something that appeals to me, and my impulse is to draw it. Is to just see what I can do with it that's a bit different, or just in a way that's fun. I love doing things that are fun. I usually have the idea pretty much fully formed in my head. I just sort of start. I mostly draw for figures and things like that. So I will spend a lot of time working and getting the pose and the body language and stuff just right. And then once I've got that down, the rest is all kind of window dressing. Creativity, it's life. I mean, for an artist, and certainly for me, it's like breathing. You can't not create. I mean, it's not just drawing. I knit as well, and I do crafts and all this kind of stuff. I just love making things. The thrill of making something, basically. I can't really say much deeper than that. I'm not the world's most verbose person. That's why I'm an artist and I'm not a writer.
My name is James Silvani. I was the artist on Disney's Darkwing Duck, and I'm currently drawing the comic book for How to Train Your Dragon. Creativity, just being able to put out there what's on your mind, expressing yourself in at least for me, in a visual medium. Looking at something and doing it the way I want to do it, with a sense of humor. There's a lot of people out there who can do stuff seriously. I'd rather have a little more fun with it. Too much seriousness in the world. Might as well have fun with my little section of it.
My name is Jesse Rubenfeld, and I am an artist, painter, writer, creator. I do a lot of parody paintings. I've also written a book called Into the Dust. It's kind of a realistic version of Wizard of Oz, but Dorothy travels to 1964 Beverly Hills as opposed to Oz. For me, I like studying the masters, and I think that today's society with popular culture is also more important to everyday people now than, say, something in a museum. I try to creatively get people I cheat people into looking at fine art. Usually I have kind of an idea in my mind of what I want to draw, and I tend to just randomly throw things together and see what things stick. If I have a creative block, I tend to close my eyes and pick up a pencil and scribble on my sketchbook and then draw what I see. So your 5-line drawing was totally native to me. Creativity to me is problem solving with an air of humor. I tend to try and find the humor in everyday things and blow it out of proportion. It's a wave that you can't stop once it starts.
Hey, my name is Tyler Kirk. I work on a book called BPRD, Hell on Earth. I've been doing that for almost 2 years now. and hopefully I'll be doing that for the foreseeable future. I don't know what inspires me to create. I have a very hard time not creating. I have a hard time sitting still watching TV without drawing. I'm inspired by a lot of different things. I think what I'm trying to do is be maybe expressive, taking ideas and expressing them clearly. At one point, I remember sitting in a meeting at my job, and I was doodling and thinking that I needed to start making my drawings look more like my doodles, because whenever I sat down to do like a serious drawing, I would spend a lot of time trying to accomplish something really specific that wasn't my own. But then when I started approaching it more from the doodle perspective, things sort of started to gel, and that was a much more unique style, I guess. But at the same time, it was also a lot easier because I was just doing what came naturally.
My name is Tim Chamberlain. I do a comic called Our Valued Customers at ourvaluedcustomers.net. It's based on my the people that shopped at my comic book store. After I worked there for years and years, I started drawing sort of the more unusual customer interactions I had. I've always enjoyed drawing. I've always enjoyed doing cartoons and that kind of stuff. And so it's just something I've sort of always done. It's something I really enjoy doing. Now it's my job. A lot of the comics that I do for valued customers is they're sort of based on real people. So I sort of draw these crude caricatures that are based on, real people. When I'm going to draw, I usually just, I have an idea of what I'm going to do and I start kind of working on it. Pull a lot of stuff from real life because, I don't know, it's just funnier. It's a lot of stuff that you couldn't actually write because it's just too sort of real and funny in that way. What does the word creativity mean to me? Doing something that hasn't been done before, and drawing from your influences and bringing your own voice to the table, I guess. I draw my cartoons. I draw cartoons. That's what I do. I draw cartoons.
My name is Jordan Kotsabu. I do a webcomic called Hominids. And it's basically a prehistoric action adventure taking place in this deep, dense, dark jungle. And the main characters are a group of Neanderthals. I've been drawing ever since I was a kid, collecting comics, and my brother and we would go to the comic book store all the time. I come from the Northwest in Seattle, and they got a lot of jungle and forest there, and I would always pretend to be some little native character and run around and playing, and so it's kind of, all my work is kind of an homage to that. You can almost see it in my art. It just starts as like a little design, and I kind of try and work from there. So I really want to get a composition going and really work my way through the panel, and none of it looks any good at all when it starts out. Well, since I'm an artist first, the drawing is a big part of the writing, and I'll kind of write a rough outline of what I want and then do a couple thumbnails for it, then write a rough script, and then draw the entire book just on one sheet of paper. From there, I revise the script from what I drew, figure out what works on the paper, what can work inside a regular sized issue comic, and finesse my writing from there, and then I feel like I'm ready to go into the comic book.
Carla Wizgala with Carlations. I'm a watercolor pinup artist. I'm working on Surreality. It's a webcomic that I pencil and ink for. I think just something about like being a girl and you're drawing a pretty face and it's like you're putting makeup on. Ever since I was little, it was kind of, I didn't want to draw big muscly men. I think being a female artist gives me a little bit more insight to, well, for one, gravity and how gravity works, if you know what I mean. And just the beauty from a female perspective, I think, gives a softer, ladylike, and dignified perception of the female body. I really looked up to the Spice Girls and Sailor Moon when I was younger, so I think just over time it became what I was comfortable drawing. I redrew the cover to the Spice Girls album so many times and I just like drawing different outfits on them. Everybody else always says practice, but I would say find what you personally like, what you can make different. I see all of my drawings as some sort of fashion design too. I mean, you basically get to invent your own person, your own clothes. So if that inspires you, then you can do whatever you want.
Hi, I'm Todd Knock, and I'm currently the artist of Guarding the Globe at Image Comics. Some of the past titles I've worked on are Young Justice for DC Comics, Teen Titans Go for DC, numerous Spider-Man projects, including Spider-Man 583, the Spider-Man Barack Obama comic, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and Spider-Man the Clone Saga. And prior to that, comics for Rob Liefeld, so New Men, Youngblood, Bad Rock and Company, and I also have done my creator-owned book at Image called Wild Guard, about a reality TV superhero team. A passion for comics, passion for superheroes, favorite type of stuff since I was a little kid. I always loved superhero cartoons like Super Friends. Spider-Man has amazing friends, so I've always loved superheroes. So that's what really something as I've been drawn to ever since I was a little kid. The costumes, the powers, the colors, the excitement of it. So it's hard to kind of talk about it because I kind of just do it. I just kind of sit down and I see the picture in my head, and then I just kind of start sketching it out, loose, rough sketch, with like a 2H pencil, start to kind of just scribble out the shapes, and then from there just slowly start to tighten it up, and then from there just move on to the inks. All of me goes into it. Everything I have, my whole heart goes into it because I love doing it and look forward to doing it every day. So even when it's a rough day and I don't feel like drawing, I still want to draw and still make it happen. So it's every fiber of my being goes into it because I love it so much. It is my outlet to express myself, yeah.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Basecki. I am the art director and the character designer for Life After Pride. Limit Break Studios produced the show, and we have a couple of episodes up, and hopefully next year we'll be on the major networks. Well, I've been creating since I was like 4 years old. I recognized that I love to make art, and now it's a response to anything that I'm going through, like messages that I feel like I need to put out there in artistic form, because I'm not necessarily good with my words or a writer, but that's how I express myself. My creative process now, it really starts, mentally, where you start thinking about what is it that, you want to put out there. And sometimes I will just dive right into a painting or a sketch, and it's like an automatic response. And other times I find that I'm stumbling through a process and the medium speaks to me. It tells me how I should create something. I think artists, we're constantly pouring ourselves into whatever medium it is that we're working with. I absolutely love being surrounded by creative types and other artists, because you're feeding off of each other's energy, and it constantly keeps you inspired and keeps things fresh, and you're exposed to new things. It's wonderful. You can write a thesis on what creativity is. Creativity for me is a measurement of how you solve some sort of artistic task. So there's something that you want to create. It's, how are you getting there with your resources, the constraints, whether it be time or resources or materials. So how you achieve that is whether you're very creative or you're not so creative. It's a measurement.
My name is Matt Triano. I draw comics. Right now I'm drawing Sherlock Holmes, the Liverpool Demon, for Dynamite. Then work for DC, Zenescope, Moonstone, and some storyboard and stuff like that. And I just did the 5-line challenge, which is pretty fun. This is going to be a trite answer. It's going to sound glib, but it's true. The script and the check, to a certain extent. I love comics. It's all I've ever wanted to do. So. The inspiration goes way back, but for me, like the 5-line challenge, like I love that there's a basis for that. Whoever did it before, there's a sort of script to follow, a visual script. There's cues to pull out of, and I like that because it's very much in the visual sense what a script does in prose. You know, it describes a thing without visually describing it, and so it's up to me to kind of give it life. I love the challenge of comics. I love the problem-solving aspect. So I guess ultimately, for maybe a more sincere answer, problem-solving. I think that that's what inspires me to create the most. You know, every page is weirdly different, and I keep changing my process because I get bored with it. I'm always thinking about clarity, eye movement, being as faithful and true to the script as possible. And ultimately, I think starting a page is one of the more difficult things that you can do in the course of the page. Figuring out how to get your hook on the shapes, the juxtaposition of information, so that not only is the information clear, but it's also entertaining. The decision-making process to sort of get to that place is based entirely in active decisions. Making active decisions isn't so much about inspiration, it's more about communication. I'm trying to tell you something very specific, and hopefully it works out.
Hi, my name's Anthony Marquis. I'm a comic book cartoonist. I work on the book Epics right now. It's a quarterly book published by Way Blue World. I'm also working on Katyusha, which is also published by Way Blue World, and I'm in the works of doing some other stuff right now at the moment. So everything inspires me to create. Can't go anywhere without looking up into the sky, look at the clouds and seeing a face or something else, you know, a rabbit running around doing something silly. You know, every single day is a new day to get inspired. I think there's a little bit of everybody in their artwork, you know, I mean, it's really you putting in all that time in there, so you can't help but put yourself into the artwork. You know, it's a lot more than just a page. It's a lot of hours that goes into every single page, you know, it's not just something as easily as a lot of people think where it's presto, hey, there's a comic page, you know, it's just for comics. You know, people spend a good amount of time, 2 days for one page they can go up to, you know, or longer than that even. With each comic book, I think it's important that people realize that, you know, there's much more than just sitting there and doing it, and there's the artist on every page. Creativity means a little spark in your mind that lets you see things a little bit differently, hear things a little bit differently. It allows you to dream a little bit more vividly, you know, and helps you to look for the better in things sometimes, or the worse. It can be used for either way. I think creativity is a super important factor in anything. So.
My name is Scott Cohn. I am an illustrator, cartoonist. I draw comics. I do storyboards for commercials and TV. I recently did the Dark Knight Rises book. It's an all young adult book. I just love doing it. I mean, I've always wanted to do it. I wanted to do this since I was 7 years old. Looking at art, watching TV sparks ideas, looking at magazines, just anything. Anything sparks an idea, and I just love doing it. That's what I was born to do. The funny thing is, I learned quick that it's not how good you are, how bad you are, it's really all in who you know. That's really what it boils down to. If you don't know anybody, you're not going to go anywhere. I start holding the pencil sideways, and I just use the blue pencil and just get the shapes down and get the motion, get the line of action of the figures before I do anything else. It's kind of like when you're building a house. You're not going to just start putting bricks up. You're going to build the foundation first and then build up from that. It's very much like building a house. You get an idea and you just have to get it out. It's like a mathematician who has to put these equations up on the board to get their thoughts on paper. It starts with holding the side of the pencil, or it just starts with me jotting down an idea. It really depends. I mean, I could be watching a TV commercial, and 3 seconds later, I've got 5 different thoughts in my head. Really, anything kind of sparks anything.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Nerdvolution. Here with Matthew and his pals. He's interviewing me, Rodney Ramos, comic book artist. I work for Marvel, DC, and everything that you can think of. Currently working for Legendary Pictures on the latest book called Tower Chronicles with Matt Wagner and Simon Bisley. Creation comes from the universe, my friend. As I looked up into the stars, I realized that we're all made of stardust. What a load of shit that is. Hey, listen, creativity comes to you in all forms and manners. You know, so when you're an artist, you sit, you're inspired by something, particularly whatever it is, you know, you just create art. But when you're doing comic books, you follow a script. So the creation of your work comes through the ideas of creating that story on paper. Well, you know, everyone who's an artist has their own expression. It just comes out naturally. And you know, when an artist starts out, he doesn't really have a voice. He finds his voice through learning from other people who he admires, and understands and sees their work and tries to mimic it, or try to do a derivative version of it. But eventually every artist finds his style and his voice, and that's who they are. It's just like anything else. It's like being a baseball player. The only way to get that really good swing and hit a home run is practice, 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 practice. And once you get to that point where you've practiced enough, then the creativity just flows from that. Because you already understands the basics. You have a good sound structure to work from. And from that comes really good work. Of course, you have to put the time in. And some things come a little bit easier, and some things, take some time. And that's why, to create great art, you got to have patience, and you got to put the time in. The word creativity means I can destroy it later. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud. Creativity is, just enjoying it, because that's what creativity is. Once you learn to be creative, once you realize you're creative, all you want to do is create something, whether it's a dance, whether it's a piece of art, a piece of music, even creating, a piece of architecture that we're in right now, this building. Creativity, that's what it is. It's an inspiration. It's that moment where you feel you need to do something. And that's creativity, and that's creation.
Hi, my name is Cliff Chang. I'm a comic book artist, and I work on Wonder Woman for DC New 52. I basically draw to try and communicate with people. You really want to be able to recognize humanity in the characters and kind of connect with it on that level. There's something you aspire to in your head, and then you try with your hands to bring that vision to life. But it's never 100%, so you kind of live with attempting, to do something and getting close. But nothing's ever perfect, so you learn to accept that as well. I think primarily it's about what you focus on. So for me, it's like I want to focus on personalities. I want to focus on a certain kind of believability. That so people can kind of see these things and see them in real life, as opposed to this kind of hyper stylized thing that doesn't necessarily have weight. So for me, it's like I love all these great ideas but I want to put them in a world where you could see it, happening. You want the drawing to be truthful and you want it to reflect something in somebody's life. Creativity, I think, is about making connections between unexpected things. When you can do that, that's when you're truly being creative. But then when you see it, it suddenly makes sense. So, it's that ability to make links between things.
Hi, Brian Kong, working on a bunch of trading card sets right now for football and Star Trek and stuff like that. Usually I'm influenced whatever genre I like. I'm a big sports fan, and I also like a lot of these TV shows and stuff that I enjoy. I try to make it into art. I was a big fan of comic books when I was growing up, and saw that the artists were making a living doing that, and it was something that I enjoyed doing also. So working all the time and my life experiences and being all the tough times I had to go through, so I try to channel that into my artwork. Well, I was in a really bad car accident a couple years ago, and I think of all the negative stuff that what happened and all that, and I always try to keep it into a positive thing. Being able to create artwork, and stuff like that. So.
18 artists, 90 random lines, 18 finished drawings. It only seemed right for the person who started it to end the cycle, so I set out to finish the book for the year. So what did I learn playing the 5-line game at New York Comic Con 2012? I learned how those 18 different artists look at a piece of paper and translate an idea from their head into their hand. The creative process has always fascinated me, and it's a real treat to see what pros like these can do with these 5 random lines. Creativity was the key word here, and each person creates in a unique way to express their voice and ideas. Inspiration is the birth of creativity, in whatever shape it may come, and these drawings were the end result of a brief experiment in seeing creativity and inspiration in action. No stuffy thesis here. Drawing like this is art for art's sake, with no big check payment at the end of it, just the joy of making something special out of nothing. Oh, and one last thing I learned this year. No matter how crazy a bunch of lines look, you can always draw some aquatic invertebrates or cephalopods to finish it. This is Matthew from nerdvolution.com saying, see you next year at Comic-Con.
friend, and he's mad because his chick here is talking to this guy.
Silly looking monkey squirting a ketchup bottle.